Welcome into Intercollegiate Conversations. As today we're pleased to be joined by Dan Forcella, the Assistant Athletic Director for Creative Strategy and Communications at the University of North Carolina. Dan, appreciate the time, and I want to jump right into it, and let's talk about you and your career. I mean, how did you get started in this industry? Right, you played college basketball, you were a team captain, you make the move over to the athletic side, working as a making it a career. How did you start, and how did you work your way up to the point where now you are with UNC?
Sure. Appreciate you having me on. This is great. And then to kind of talk through it, as you said, I was playing Division III college basketball at Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York, and in our SID at the time, Robin Deutsch. I got to know him through my freshman year with him working with our team, and he just was like, "Hey, what's your student job? I see you there checking people into the weight room." And he's like, "Why don't you come do something that maybe is a little bit more meaningful?" And I was like, "Well, what is it? What do you do?" I had no idea. So I got started with him there, doing stats, doing PA, doing music, and then eventually started writing and updating websites over the course of my 3 years in undergraduate there at Vassar. And by the time I got to my senior year, it was, hey, I don't want to go to New York City and be in finance like the rest of my teammates were. We were all econ majors. I'd rather just keep working in sports. So I just applied to things over and over, and was lucky enough to get a gig at Central Connecticut State right out of school, which ironically was where my parents went to school. Um, and worked for Tom Pinsence there, who's now their athletic director. He was my boss there at Central Connecticut. Ultimately went to Belmont for grad school there in Nashville, Tennessee, interned at Vandy while I was there, and ended up going down to Florida for like the next decade, where I was at Stetson working with men's basketball, and then had the opportunity to go to UCF 2 years later, doing men's basketball with them. Um, then from there, I pivoted and took a year in Texas, where I was at Texas A&M Corpus Christi, running that department there. Kind of cut my teeth on managing and um, you know learning how to lead people. It was a small shop there in Corpus Christi, and then had the chance to go back to UCF, work with football, and I did so, and I was there for another 5.5 years. Kind of worked with football, ended up running the day-to-day of the office there. Ultimately, our deputy AD, Scott Carr, got the athletic director job at FIU, which is when I then went with him and ran the brand and communications, creative marketing for FIU for 2 years, and then got the chance to come up here at North Carolina, and been here since January. So coming up on a year, and it's been awesome. It's been a really great opportunity to kind of run the lead on the creative and communications and everything that we're doing here at Carolina. And it's been a whirlwind, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you've moved around a little bit. You've worked for some good schools, programs. Have had some interesting positions. For you, how do you know when it's the right fit? What are some of the things you look for as a job seeker in a school, in a community, programs, whatever, to know, yep, this is the right opportunity for me?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for me, the biggest thing is kind of those first conversations you have with the people you're going to be working closely with. Um, Obviously, you want to work around people that are hardworking and that understand it and that want the best for you. But the thing that always clicks for me is people that understand change and people that understand forward momentum. And you can kind of gather that in your first couple of conversations with people and kind of what they're looking for in somebody in a role that you're going for. And for me, that's a big thing. I'm not interested in being somewhere where people are fine with the status quo. I'm not interested in being somewhere where people are okay with just good enough, or this is how we've done it before, or anything to that nature. I'm more of the what can we do that's different, and that's in every facet of what you're doing. What can we do that's new? What can we do that's better? What can we do that's innovative? And those are the conversations that I look to have early on in the process when I'm chatting with people about potential opportunities. I think that's really important.
Over the course of your career so far, have you seen a lot of change in the industry? And I'm not talking about obviously name, image, and likeness, transfer, all that stuff, but specifically for you, your role, your responsibilities, the way you guys do things from start to where we are here in 2024. Have you seen a lot of change over that time?
Yeah, I mean, I like to tell people that for me, getting into this, I started college in 2004 and I graduated in 2008. Like I was right around that time of the invention of social media, right? So like Facebook came out when I was in high school, Twitter when I was in college, Instagram shortly thereafter. So my first job, even at a Division I program like Central Connecticut, like right then in 2008, like I remember starting our first Twitter account and live tweeting text only tweets for every event of our swim meet, right? So, um, to me, I always tell people when I'm dealing with things like work-life balance or, coaches asking for too much to my staff over and over again, things like that, I always go back to this was a full-time job before the invention of social media and now that's 75% of the job and all those other things still have to happen. Like you can't not write web stories, you can't not write game notes. um Interview requests still come through. So it's I know it's been a challenge, and some of that is learning what are the things that maybe we can take a step back, that maybe we can do 60% of the traditional stuff and kind of find ways to work around them. But that's been the biggest change as that growth in everything that has gone on, figuring out which places can understand how to handle that and figure out what you can do to elevate your programs on that level while still making sure the other stuff continues to get done.
You mentioned that start at Central Connecticut. What do you know now after working in this industry for over 15 years that you wish you knew then when you were coming out of college and getting started?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I probably didn't know is that this business, like any other business, a lot of it is about who you know. I feel like when I was applying for jobs in the early going and not getting things or not even getting calls, I think I probably took that a little bit too hard, and I was like, what's wrong with my resume? What's wrong with my experience? Um, and at the end of the day, over the last 15 years, sometimes you realize that it's networking, it's relationships, it's that part is sometimes they already have somebody in mind for a job. So and I've learned that firsthand. You know what I mean? So a lot of the jobs that I've gotten, it's because of the relationships that I've built. And so I feel like if I had known that back then, I wouldn't have taken it so hard when I didn't get this job or didn't get that job as I was trying to rise in the field.
That probably answers the next question, but I'll ask anyways. You already kind of touched on, I mean, how important is networking in this industry?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important, as I just said. But for me, I think what some people think is traditional networking of like, meeting a lot of people, getting to know them, that's important in like, going to conventions and LinkedIn and all. But to me, the bigger part of it is the relationship building and in networking through your performance. I'll say that I'm not the most outgoing in those like casual, situations. But I've networked through the places that I've been and just showing people who you are and building relationships with people, working hard, so that when an opportunity comes about, those people think of you, right? So I told people when I got here that this job at Carolina was the first one that I've gotten in a long time where I didn't know anyone here. Um, I take pride in that. I'm proud of myself that I was able to, push through, win the interviews, convince people that I was the right person for this job. But my job at FIU, I got because Scott Carr was the AD and he knew that I did a great job for him at UCF. I got my job at UCF because my former boss, Andy Seeley, wanted to bring me back because he, knew what he could expect out of me as a worker. So like networking is great, but it's how you show who you are as an employee that really is the part of the networking that's going to help you get ahead in whatever your next job is.
Which also leads me to my next question. Um, well, let me ask you a couple different things. On the topic of networking, how important are job boards? Now, as you just laid out, a lot of the jobs that you've been able to get were just through those relationships that you built through working in this industry. But for the importance of job boards, have you seen that play a big role for job seekers, people maybe first getting in the industry, or even on the hiring side, right? When you're trying to find an employee, doing that through a job board. All that's to say or to ask you, how valuable do you think job boards are in this industry?
Yeah, I think they're extremely valuable. I mean, I use them. I mean, we're hiring 4 positions over the course of the last 2 months. So I've used every which way job board that I've been able to find. So I do think that they have value for sure. Um, we try and, broaden, the scope of who might be able to find us. I mean, here it's a little bit easier. I mean, Carolina comes with a name, people are going to search us out, but um they're not gonna, people aren't going to the university, HR website and finding there's a job opening. We need to figure out how to get that out there. And, whether it's, intercollegiate or NCA or D1 ticker, whatever it is, like we're posting to make sure we get as large a spread as possible so people can find us and we can weed out as many people that might not be the right fit for us as possible. But then from my side too, I use it for, from talking about networking, I use it for people that I know in the business. So like I'm reading job boards all the time, like getting them in my email. What are the new jobs that are posted? If I see something that I think fits for somebody that I know, that's maybe I know, I'm sending them the link. I think that's important to continue to help people in this business that are trying to look for something new or look for a change. I use them a lot in that way as well.
My other follow-up question was, people don't like to brag about themselves, but if you were to pick out the traits that have allowed you to be successful and get to this point in your career, what would those be?
Yeah, for me, I think I mean I take pride in 3 main traits that are the same things I look for in people that I'm hiring, right? So I think number one is just work ethic. If you don't understand that this is a job like anything else that's going to take you to buckle up and work your butt off, then it's not going to be right for you and it's not going to be right for me. The second one is just, being somebody that people want to be around, like having a great attitude, being happy to be at the office every day. That part, it makes a difference. It helps people that you're working around. So, and then number three, from a skill standpoint and a talent standpoint, it's adaptability. It's being able to change with whatever you can do and learn in new techniques. I say that one of the reasons I got to where I am is because my colleague at UCF, Eric DeSalvo, quoted me as the 21st century SID. It's like I was an SID coming of age in this business, and I was our photographer for men's basketball on the road. I was our secondary videographer when we go on the field at FIU as the senior associate athletic director. Like those are the things that if you don't learn to adapt, you're not going to be as marketable for whatever your next job is. So it's one of the reasons I think I got the job here is because I've sat in the seats of everyone and I'm in a creative role, even though I've never been a creative, because I was the type of person that I was like, how can I set myself apart as a communications professional? And part of that was learning the social side, being a creative, being able to create videos and graphic design and everything else. So I think from a skill standpoint, it's that adaptability and be able to learn new things, in addition to the work ethic and being a team player and a great attitude.
Couple last things before I let you go. You've mentioned the hiring, so I want to ask you about that because some of the other administrators we've spoken to over the last few weeks and months have lamented the hiring process these days in college athletics. Now, I don't want to put words in your mouth and I don't want to ask a leading question, but for you, have you noticed a change specifically in that area over the years of the hiring process? Maybe the pool of candidates isn't as large. Maybe they're different type of candidates. Have you noticed any sort of throughout the course of your career, just the change, the amount of people that want to work in college athletics, that type of person, the hiring process, anything there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've noticed it. I mean, I think COVID hurt it a lot as well. But when I was late in my time at UCF, this would have been, I don't know, 21, 22. I remember hiring for some positions and we'd have the history in our like on our website of our hiring. And I'd go back and I looked at some of the pools from like 2016 and I was like, we this same exact position, we had 200 candidates apply and now we have 54. Like, so yes, that's the truth. We've seen that happen. Um, the the big thing for me, at least now with there was a big surge with these creative roles that developed and that were born in the college athletics world, right? Um, and they were fun, they were exciting. A lot of people wanted to do them. Um, Now in the last 5 years, you've seen more of the opportunity that these creatives have to go out and do their own thing, have three, four side jobs and make more money than they would at an athletics department. So that's one of the big challenges that I'm seeing in hiring, especially on the creative side, is finding people that want to that feel the need that they have to have a full-time job. It's like some of these kids like, oh, okay, I'll just go and have three or four freelance jobs and I'll make just as much and I won't be tied down to something. So I found that to be a specific challenge. And finding the people that are in it for those same reasons. They're fewer and further between, but they're still out there. I got a couple of great ones here, so you guys got to find them.
Two last things. Number one, I've worked with people in similar roles to you. I know there's a lot on your plate. You got a lot to do. But what's your most favorite part about your job? What's the number one thing? Because I'm sure there's more than one, but the number one thing that gets you most excited about working in college athletics and right now working
Yeah.
with UNC?
Yeah, it's cliche, but it's game day. You know what I mean? It is. People say it, but it's true. I mean, there's a reason we do what we do. There's a reason we're in sports. There's a reason why we're lucky enough to have these jobs, and it's because, for all the crazy hours and long hours and hard work, and we get to go work games. We get to watch sports and celebrate victories and help these student athletes tell their stories and everything in between. So that's the fun part. That's the best part about the job is working those games, the adrenaline that comes with getting ready for a game, that you win a game, what are we going to do to promote those types of things still is what kind of gets you excited every day.
We'll end on this best piece of advice you've ever been given in life or in work, but the best piece of advice that you still apply to throughout your career now.
Yeah, it's kind of in the same vein as what I just said about game day, but worked with Johnny Dawkins at UCF with men's basketball for a long time, and you know, he would always say to his team, and I take it to heart, he would always say, never get tired of winning. And I take that to our field. It's the same way. Never get tired of winning and for us covering those wins. We need to take advantage of that, celebrate our wins to the fullest in every capacity. Don't just say, oh, we beat so and so, it's not that big a deal. We'll just move on. No, celebrate it. Winning is important, and it's what the kids are doing it for. So never get tired of that, and never get complacent in what you're going to do after a win. Like let's celebrate that to its fullest and do everything we can to kind of promote our teams when they do win. So that I've always taken that to heart for sure.
A special thanks to Dan Forcella, the Assistant Athletic Director for Creative Strategy and Communications at the University of North Carolina, for joining us and providing us with his story, insights, and advice. Thank you to you as well for taking the time out to watch this video. We ask that you please subscribe to our YouTube page so you don't miss any of our videos and content in the future. We also encourage you to check out intercollegiate.co, which is the most comprehensive job board there is in college athletics. Life is a series of hellos and goodbyes, and for now, we say goodbye.